Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
You know, it feels like we were just here, but it's been a whole week since we got together to make another episode.
It has been.
I'm glad, though, that I have my phone.
You are?
Yeah. Well, have you ever noticed it?
Are you?
You use your phone?
My phone's always with me.
Well, whenever I go, I always pat myself down. Keys, phone, wallet. Keys, phone, wallet.
Yeah.
So that way, whether, I'm leaving the house or leaving, my classroom or getting out of my truck, keys, phone, wallet, keys, phone, wallet.
Do you ever not have it with you?
Yes, and then I panic and I'm trying to find where are they?
All right. You know who doesn't who ever not have it with them, it seems?
Who?
When I'm in the classroom, I just feel like they always have it. Right. And even when a student says they don't have it, I'm always like, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have it.
I thank you. And I have a very strict no cell phone policy in my classroom.
You do. You're good at that.
I tell the kids, kind of like from, crying out loud. What was that show from New York? The Soup Nazi.
Oh, Seinfeld?
Seinfeld. Thank you. God, my mind drew a blank. Anyway, I tell the kids, instead of being a soup Nazi, I'm a cell phone Nazi. No phones in here. No phones in here. So anyway,
yeah, but they always have it, right? They're always on.
Oh, they do. And it's a constant battle. And
definitely an addiction. I've even had some kids tell me they think it's an addiction.
Well, I tell them it is. Whether they believe me or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd rather have them tell me.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. So I thought maybe today we would bring in somebody who is well-versed in helping kids. I'm not a fan of cell phones, and beyond the basic use of calling and,
Right. Nobody calls on cell phones anymore.
They don't?
No, nobody calls.
Oh.
They're not for calling. They're for texting and looking things up.
Okay. Well, so I feel that phones for teenagers, young kids, has gotten to be epidemic in a negative way.
Yeah.
And so we have with us a fantastic guest. He is a school counselor who also happens to be a licensed professional counselor. So he sees kids here at school and has private practice. And so I thought he might be able to maybe lend some insight into cell phone use. When is it good, and can it be too much of a good thing? So
awesome.
How about Cameron Gibson? Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it. Long time listener. Definitely during the summers when I have free time and I don't have to.
What is that? What is free time?
Well,
I'm with you on the summer thing, right?
It looks a lot different nowadays, man. Especially having two kids that are under the age of 5.
Oh my goodness.
The free time, you think that you have it, and then next thing you know, you to the bathroom, they're right there behind you. That free time looks a lot different.
Hands under the door.
Just all of it. Hey, what are you doing? You know what I'm doing. Why are you?
Right.
Times that I notice, I'm hey,
it's
I
not
just
a
want to be
secret.
on my phone for 5 minutes without you being down my neck. But,
yeah.
Yeah. So long time
So
listener.
you like to use your phone too?
I will say that I got a love-hate relationship with my phone. It's definitely one of those things where I feel like I have to put limits on it, which I didn't really realize was a thing until I would pull up to a red light, and then next thing I know, I'm pulling out my phone to check something. I'm
sure.
This is just it's a habit at that point, So just trying to make sure that I'm limiting myself as much as I try to tell kids to limit that. I'm just
see, now that's hard. I'm really not as good at that as Rod is. I know that if I'm not in my class and I can visit Rod's room, he is very on with his cell phone policy, and his policy extends to him where he doesn't actually use it himself. And I applaud him for that.
Yeah. Well,
I have a lot of things going. And so if my kids are working on something, sometimes I it's not intentional. I think it's almost like a muscle reaction or something. I just check it.
Yeah.
And then I catch myself and I tell my students not to do that. And there I am doing it.
Well, I see it as I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to lead from the front and lead by example. And if I tell the kids no cell phone in my classroom and I'm on it, well, then that's a double standard. And I'm not a fan of double standards.
Yeah.
Especially kids
No, you're
nowadays. It's, oh, you're on your phone. Like, you do have those
Right.
kids that'll push those limits. And I don't want to say like don't have the respect, but they also have that mindset where, okay, well, if you're not doing it, then I don't have to. Then you get into that whole conversation.
Sure. But then, I'm the adult. So
yeah.
When you become an adult, you get to do all the things.
When you don't have to sit into this class, in this high school class. Then.
Well, where I thought we could potentially go, and this is why I wanted you, because you have you see kids in a different way than Scott and I do. Because Scott and I have shared many times that we are classroom teachers, but you see them as a counselor, you see them in a much different way. And there is a lot of conversations, a lot of research that is coming out over the last few months about the negative impact that cell phones are having on kids' behavior, to the point that the Texas state legislature last 2 years ago, they put in a voluntary bill that said that schools, it was up to each school district, but they could ban, and I put that in air quotes, cell phones, as they saw fit. Well, now it looks like they're going to go one step further and make it a mandatory ban. I mean, LA school district, the second largest school district in the country, this school year, this 24-25 school year, banned cell phones.
Wow.
So my question to you is, have you seen, in your capacity in working with kids, that cell phones do indeed have a potential negative effect on their social emotional health?
So overall, I would definitely say yes, but I mean, with everything, there's kind of like a spectrum, like there's the kids who know how to deal with it versus the kids who don't know how to deal with it. And it's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it. And I feel like one of the big things, and I was kind of thinking about this the other day, during private practice, have a kid who they legit are not able to be away from their phone. Like even within our, counseling sessions where your parents are paying me, like you're here for a specific amount of time. And like the first thing that you want to do, like as soon as you feel that little vibration, it's pull the phone out. And it's to the point now where I'm just like, hey man, like, like we're still in the session. It's like, oh yeah, I just want to show you this. I just want to show you this. So like, again, it's kind of like that muscle memory because they've been using it for so long. So, even with that, a lot of times I, kind of think, when it comes to my kids, like at what point am I going to be like, hey, I'm okay with you having a phone, not wanting to introduce it to them too quick,
sure,
but also don't want that kind of social stigma around, oh, I don't have a phone and all my friends have it. What am I missing out on? And then that goes into a whole nother thing of now I got to sneak around, and I have so many kids, even at the school who are like, hey, my parents don't know that I have a phone. And to be that parent to not know that my kid has a phone. But it's just a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it that I definitely see it can have a positive effect, but it also, you have to like toy that line very, very carefully to say like, hey, you have access to all of this, but I don't want to give you so much freedom to where you're, utilizing it in a bad way to where it's affecting you, negatively in the mental space. So, it's a lot that kind of goes into it. For one, I definitely feel like it's on the parents for sure. But also with that, like parents can't control everything. Like there's only so much that you can do as a parent once you give a kid that much access.
Yeah.
Because once you have that access, like the whole world just opens up. And it's unfortunate because what you think is an innocent, gift to a kid, as soon as they get internet access, all of that innocence gets taken away. Like I've had to realize that with my 3-year-old. Like it's like,
you
yeah,
gave a 3-year-old a phone?
Not a phone.
Oh,
not
okay.
a phone. Nah, no, we've had that conversation. So even prior to having kids, me and my wife, like we would go out to, restaurants and stuff and we'd see families and, the little kid be at Chili's with the little tablet and we're like, we're not going to be those parents that gives us our 3-year-old a tablet. Next thing you know, my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old have a tablet. And so it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's convenient, but you also have to make sure.
But there's some great educational things on those.
And there
too,
is.
right?
And there is.
So there are good reasons to use it.
Yeah. And you just have to make sure that that you're monitoring it enough to where, hey, you have this scope of things that you're able to have access to.
Yeah.
Like with my kids, we don't let them get on YouTube, because as soon as you click on YouTube, you think that you're watching one video, ends up coming in another video. And that's how, that innocence gets affected just like that, because you've watched a video that you thought was Coco Melon. And then next thing you know, you see, two 90-year-old guys playing with dolls or something like that.
Now what I wonder is this like when the kid pulls out the phone, right? And they're looking at it, I don't feel like that's causing, like the phone is the cause of the mental health issue. I feel like the phone and it's the pulling it out all the time is just amplifying some other issue that exists, right? Like, FOMO, or, you have, this need for attention, things like, because social media is like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I put it on social media, and then I gotta check 2 seconds later
Does
to see, did anybody like my post on social media? Like what's happening? And so, but that, it feels like that's more of it's an outlet for the other thing, right? Like there was already an underlying thing that this just amplifies the problem.
Like, I'm not getting the attention from these physical people that I'm around every day. Let me go get it from somebody online, or whoever it is online. So for sure.
Well, there's two news stories that I ran across. One of them was talking about how your phone, our use of well, I guess when I say phone, I guess what I'm talking about more is, because Scott reminded me that people don't use the phone to actually call
people.
It is your access to the internet, as you said, and so therefore your social media platforms. And there was a school or a child psychiatrist, she was commenting that to go what you're saying, Scott, is that with this FOMO, this being on our phone, has actually accented issues, increasing kids' senses of anxiety, depression, self-harm, online bullying, and as well as addiction itself to the phone. And that these are causing a vast amount of unintended consequences and side effects.
Right.
Is that what you are seeing with the kids that you deal with or engage with?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to the point now where I don't want to say like every student that I see within private practice has some type of ramifications from that, but it is a lot. Cause you'll get the kids on one side of the spectrum who's, for example, hey, I have social anxiety. I don't like being around people. I feel like everybody's looking at me. And then, I go to, Instagram or, Snapchat or whatever. And that's how I communicate with people, because I don't like communicating with people in the real world. And then on the other hand, it's, hey, I communicate with people in the real world. I like to take pictures and XYZ and all of these other things, but I'm affected by everything that they're saying as well. So it goes hand in hand a lot of the time. So I'm seeing that, again, private practice, I'm seeing that in schools where, kids are feeling bullied because of whether it's, hey, they're saying stuff about me or they're not saying stuff about me. Like you said, that fear of FOMO. As soon as I post something, now I'm going back and I'm looking at it. Okay, did people comment? Did people like my stuff? Okay, nobody liked it. That means I need to be extra. And then you end up going down that rabbit hole with trying to do too much on social media and trying to get attention in the wrong way. So yeah, it's bad, like pretty much all over at this point. So it's just a matter of, at this point, I feel like we can't put anything like that back in the bag. We just have to kind of monitor where we're at right now and just do the best that we can. I
feel like I should clarify a little bit here and just be like, because I know that Rod didn't realize that you don't use a phone to actually call people the way we used to. There's probably people out there who are like, why do they keep talking about FOMO? What's FOMO, right? Like FOMO is fear of missing out. And so, that's a legitimate fear that I think kids have always had. But it was just, like I'm missing out on the baseball game because I couldn't go, right? Because I was grounded. Mm-hmm. Whereas now it's like there's instant everything. People are taking pictures, people are doing things. So there's a real fear of missing out on all kinds of stuff that might be happening at the same time. And that creates some anxiety as well.
Well, there's a number of calls. Again, like I said at the very beginning, school districts, we have school districts here in North Texas that have put a ban on cell phones. Mm-hmm. Do you see in your humble opinion, and I'm taking it just as your opinion, do you think that if there was a ban on phones at school, would that help this situation? Or do you think it may have literally no impact or it could make things worse?
In my honest opinion, I don't think that it will it'll probably have an impact on the school day itself. As far as like kids paying attention, not having that, back and forth with teachers as far as like arguing over the phones and things like that. But I don't think that it would have as big of an impact as people are making it seem. Like, I feel like, in my opinion, they're thinking like, hey, if we ban the phones in school, then all of this other stuff is just going to fall. Like, depression is going to lessen, self-harm is going to lessen. I don't think that that's going to be the case because, yes, kids are here for the majority of their day. I mean, 8 hours a day, throughout the week. That's, a third of their time they're spending at school. But on top of that, you're still having the time that they are on their phones at home and on the weekends and all of that other stuff. So I don't necessarily think that it'll have a huge impact. It can have some impact, especially when you are limiting yourself to just the people that are here at the school. If that's what your social media is, if it's just like your friends at school, then obviously that'll be limited as far as like the contact that you're able to have. But we know there's no other reason than kids having social media. They are accessing people outside of school as well. So you also have to think of what's happening between 4:30 and, 8 o'clock the next day. So yes, small impact, but I don't think it's going to be like this drastic, like, oh, cell phones are banned, all kids are fixed.
I would agree. And I think that instructional impact is what the state is after.
Yeah.
Right. That they want to deal with the distraction in the classroom. And, there's some teachers like you who do it really well. And then there's some teachers like me who do it, mildly well. And then there's some teachers who don't do it very well at all. And so, it's difficult, right? And I think from the state's perspective, they're probably just thinking, well, if we just outlaw it, right, that takes it off the teacher's plate, takes it off the administration's plate for fighting, and puts it at square in the state's plate. And the state doesn't care, right? They're not going to, that's how it is. And if you make it a law, then, you got to follow the law.
Well, and I remember when phones, crying out loud, when we were still in the, I'll say maybe 8-10 years ago, they were encouraging us, well, find a way to use your phone in the classroom. Use them as ways for, for test review and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, huh? I guess being an old dinosaur, it took me a while.
Well, you still thought phones were for calling people.
I guess yeah. All right, well.
The little rotary phones where you have to turn the knobs and everything.
Yes, and don't mess up because you got to start all over again. Though I did have a sister win tickets to the movie tickets on a radio call-in on a rotary phone. So it can be done. But
I remember that. I remember because I was excited about that when that happened. They were like, use it for this thing. And I had we used to have things called placards where you could have like a QR code that they would hold up and you could scan it to see, that would be their answer, yes or no, or whatever. And so you could scan these things in the whole room at the same time and you could get instant results. And so from a formative assessment point of view, trying to figure out, is your class getting it?
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. Right. Yeah. And of course the kids are using these things. And companies are using them and all the apps and all the things. So it's technology has always been a thing that's been adopted by education. We've used radio, we've used TV, we've watched movies. Everybody got excited when I were in school and the VCR or the reel-to-reel player was rolled in, right? And so it's, now we just have it on the wall and computers to do all that. But I was excited about it at the time, but then it kind of became like technology in the classroom to some extent became not an instructional tool, but just there for the sake of having technology in the classroom.
Well, I notice, I share my classroom with another teacher and I come in and the kids are done and, it's the last 7 minutes and they're all on their phones. You walk in the hallways and you see kids constantly on their phones. I'm
sure they're just ordering lunch so when they can get out there and get that lunch.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. But it's again, they're disengaged. They're not engaging with the people around them to the point that this semester, and they'll start this week. I'm going to institute a policy that on Wednesdays in my homeroom during that 25-minute period. It's going to be put your phones away, and we're going to have decks of cards. I've got Uno deck. I got a Sorry game. I got a Jenga game. We're going to play games. We're going to talk to each other because I had kids that they would be sitting together at the table and they're texting each other rather than talk.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, I get social anxiety, but could social anxiety be potentially minimized if you take away the crutch and let's talk?
I mean, that's what parents do, right? Like you sit on the couch at night and then you just like you're scrolling and you copy a couple memes, you text a meme to your wife or back and forth. You laugh about like nobody's actually talking. We're just like texting.
We're communicating,
devices, right?
It's just not communicating with our voice. Yeah.
So, and you're communicating with 6 other people at the same time.
I suppose, but to me, part of it, we experimented with the game playing a little bit at the end of the semester last year on a couple of days, and the kids go, "Oh, this was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it."
Yeah.
And I said, would this be something that if it was instituted, you think would be fun? And they go, yes. And so I thought, well, then we will do that, starting this semester. But it's been a little chaotic getting going as we've just, with snow days and all that other garbage. And so I've been slow in implementing it, but I think it'll be something fun. And I think it'll require me, like not using my phone. I will come out and I will join and we'll play games. And it doesn't have to be for the whole 25 minutes, but if we're getting a little bit of time to social, physical interaction, well, could that help the effects of depression, that sense of isolation, that sense of, well, nobody sees me, so I have to manufacture something so somebody will see me.
Yeah. And I definitely agree, especially on that point. And if you need somebody to come beat some kids in Uno, I would definitely be on board with that. But just kind of one of the big things.
You got a bunch of draw 4s up your sleeve.
Hey man, draw 4s, draw 8s. I got the new Uno decks and everything.
All right.
Oh, yes, draw 15s on that.
Some crazy stuff in there.
Maniac Uno game. I forget what it's called, but
it's ridiculous how many cards I had at one point. But it is what. But yeah, kind of speaking on that, especially just kind of making like a small impact here and there. Even when doing private practice counseling, and I have parents that are bringing their kids in for like social anxiety and stuff. Some of them who obviously haven't done like a ton of research. It's my job to, educate the family, educate the kid and stuff like that. Cause a lot of them, they're like, hey, you're coming in for counseling in 2 sessions. They should be fixed and they should be able to go on out in the world and be able to talk to the kids. And I'm like, no, like it's been like 15 years of this kid like having this problem. It's not going to be fixed in, 2 50-minute sessions.
Sure.
So even something as small as, hey, we're going to take 25 minutes, 15 minutes, and we're going to play this game every single Wednesday. Not being in your phone, not having any interaction with like social media and stuff like that. Small stuff like that goes a long way. And once you compound that, on days and days, that's when you start seeing that impact.
Right.
So, I mean, I love that idea of, trying to do the FaceTimeless time that you will have with kids.
Yeah, I mean, I have some times in my class where I'm just like, there's no electronics today. We got some paper. We're going to talk.
Old school,
right? And we're going to talk, and we're going to talk to each other. We're going to talk in small groups. We're going to actually convert. And then you get some students who are like, oh, what's your name? And it's like, we've been here all year. Right? Like, and you still don't know that person's name because you
haven't looked up. You haven't looked up one time and ask somebody else, oh, how's your day going? Or can I borrow a pencil? Like it's weird. It's weird to me just because one, I'm a social person and I grew up in school where like cell phones were like first getting introduced.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were, I want to say like 7th, 8th grade when that first started happening, but we didn't have social media and stuff. So back then you were really only using the phone to call people. And then texting started getting introduced and that became big. I want to say like my 9th grade, 10th grade year, not trying to date myself or like that.
Right.
But there was still that need for that interpersonal reaction. Like I had to come up to you and ask, hey, what's your cell phone number? Or, hey, you want to go out this weekend? I'll text you and let you know, where we're going to go. Like you still had to have some type of interaction, even though you did have a phone, but we weren't like all on the, the Snapchat. And that's how we're primarily communicating and through Instagram and all the other social media channels. So it's just kind of weird seeing how all of those stages have, I don't want to say gotten worse than worse, but the interactions that you will actually have, the interpersonal connections, how that's just gotten less and less over the years. And you're seeing an increase, like I said, in like that social anxiety piece, that depression piece, self-harming, because kids aren't communicating with each other or communicating with adults.
Right.
Well, some of the stuff I've been reading talks also about how it impacts your behavior. And they were tying your behavior response, or kids in particular, their behavior, especially bad or more negative behavior issues, because of their amount of time on the screen and how much screen time actually impacts your sleep. And so when you're not getting good quality sleep, well, that impacts your behavior. Mm-hmm. And yet here we are at school, and they are, they're 4 periods a day, 4 90-minute periods. And so if a lot of that is, we're forcing them to use mm-hmm. their screen time, then their own cell phone use, and maybe they're watching, stuff on their own computer at home. Yep. How many hours a day are they getting in screen time? So therefore it has a negative impact on, their sleep, but it also creates a sense of anticipation because, they're being fed a lot of, I forget the exact term, but basically they were being fed instant gratification. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so that creates more and more and more. And so it keeps you on your screen, whatever game or whatever it is you're on. And so all these things are creating now kids with not only with social anxiety or other issues, now they're also bad behaviors. Mm-hmm. And so is that something that do you agree with any of this research, or does reality come with a little different point of view?
So again, it's one of those things where obviously it has to be monitored, but I have seen an influx in like the behavior aspect of that, because a lot of what kids see, like you said, that instant gratification when they're scrolling, they're watching a video for like 10 seconds and then they're on to the next. Then they're paying attention to something else for 10 seconds and it's on to the. But then when it comes to school, like we're not breaking it up into like 10-second, it's like ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, in life, you're not breaking things into 10-second increments unless it's like a football play or something like that. Go Chiefs.
Yes.
Anyway, not going to talk about that right now. But so when they're having those issues because they're so used to getting that instant gratification, or I'm seeing stuff for like 5 to 10 seconds here, and then you're expecting a kid to sit down for a whole 90-minute class period, or even a 50-minute class period at, like the middle school levels at some points, it just doesn't work. And so then you get teachers who are upset with students. You get students who are upset with teachers because now you're having this unequal sense of expectation for the kid. Like you're expecting a kid to sit down, pay attention. I'm going to lecture you for 5-10 minutes here, but your attention span is only 5 to 10 seconds. And so you have that imbalance, which then leads into the behavior issues, because now I don't want to pay attention, and not necessarily I don't want to pay attention, but at a basic level, I can't pay attention because I've trained my brain so much to just get that instant gratification. And I'm looking at these videos that are 5 to 10 seconds long. And now I'm spaced out because I have to sit down here for 20 minutes and listen to you talk, or go through a book for, 20 so minutes. So you definitely see a lot of the behavior stuff, especially with it's getting younger and younger at this point. I'm seeing 12-year-olds at the clinics who have those same types of issues, emotional outbursts in class because they're not getting that instant gratification that they're normally getting from, social media, YouTube videos like that.
Huh. So obviously these are, these are probably complicated issues when you're talking to kids and parents, and relating to specific situations. And I'm sure there's a lot of outside stuff about life and home life and all those things that can kind of play into it. Right. But just kind of generically, I was just wondering, like, what is it that people could or might consider doing to help their child if they feel like they might be spending too much time on their phone, or maybe the adult themselves, they're struggling with that. I mean, what are some basic things that might be kind of generic that they could try?
Generic things that I think that have kind of at least helped from what I've seen is definitely kind of like that scheduled time. And that helped with me as well. Like not only as a parent, but when I was a kid, like my parents, they would have like set times. I mean, it was here and there how much they enforced it, but it comes with consistency and knowing like what those parameters are.
Right.
And also understanding your child and saying like, hey, I know you're going to be upset, but making sure that I'm still sticking with it. Because a lot of times what I've seen is, hey, parents are upset, they'll implement a rule, and then as soon as the kid has some type of backlash, then it's, okay, well, here, I'm going to just give it to you. And as a parent, I have definitely fallen victim to that. Like, oh, I want the piece of candy. No, you're not getting a piece of candy. Well, I haven't had it. Okay, buddy, well, here's one piece of candy. Go away. And, that'll just translate to the next
thing.
They're
following you to the bathroom. Give me another piece of candy.
And all of that. And
right.
it never ends. So I definitely say having some type of consistency and an actual plan with all of that. Because like I said, as soon as you give the kid the internet, like they can find anything, they can be on it as long as they want to, all of that stuff.
Oh, they are savvy too.
And they'll find ways around it.
Because there's apps you can get that will kind of shut that off or restrict it, but they can usually get around it.
Yeah.
They figured that out.
Have a kid with that same situation right now. But so yeah, just making sure, I feel like as parents, having those parameters and putting those forward like early on.
Right.
Because the earlier on that you put them, the easier it is to keep that habit going. Now, if you give a kid a phone at 12 and they have no type of limits on anything, and then by 15, you're trying to reel all of that stuff back in, like by then it's too late. Like they've already formed their habits. They know what they like to do. They know how to get around certain things. So starting that stuff on very, very early with those parameters, and especially, what you're able to access. If you are able to, kind of manipulate that for your child, saying like, hey, you have access to this during this times. If, you want to get on Instagram or Snapchat, you have to be down here in the room with us, anything like that, that kind of helps you control that situation as much as possible, but not to the point of like, like a dictatorship, like, hey, I want to see who you're texting at all the time. Cause at that point, then that's when
I remember when
sneaking around and stuff.
I ended up taking, my youngest daughter's phone away from her for like a couple of weeks at one point because, she was getting involved in things she shouldn't have, and with people she shouldn't have been involved with. Or at least that was my feeling. And as the parent, I feel like I have that right.
Yeah, he had that liberty.
So that was tough, right? She's much older now and realizes that really was a good idea, right? And I don't know what this is like for you, Rod, or you, Cameron. What I have, an iPhone, so I have a limiter on it, like for social media. Yep. And it's so easy to get beyond, right? Like even I can get beyond it, right? But because it just pops up and it says you reach your limit for the day.
Okay, or
right, and then
limit.
like you can just be like, I'm going to ignore it, right? I want to ignore it for 15 minutes. I want to ignore limit altogether. But at least I've had to make that choice.
Right.
I've had it come up and be like, oh, I have spent too much time on this. Now maybe I'm doing something important, and so like I actually do need to get beyond it, or maybe I could just gives me that pause to say, all right, it's time to be done.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't know where all that time went.
And for me,
I feel like a lot of people say that.
Yeah. And me and my wife, we try to do that. I do it now. So now I'm a little bit better with it, especially during the week. Now on the weekends, it's a little bit difficult just because I'm like, all right, man, I'm done working and now I'm just chilling here. The kids are taking a nap. And then next thing I know, I've been on YouTube for like an hour and a half and then the limit goes off. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's just watch YouTube on the TV now. So I don't have to actually click ignore it. So just making, again, it's that choice. And then like it kind of pops back into my head. Oh, I've already gotten to my hour limit today and it's, 6:00. Maybe I've done too much today because normally I am pretty conscious about it, especially during, like I said, during the work week, just because like it's like back to back stuff that you have to do all the day. But trying to make sure that I'm aware of it. And that way I can kind of like trickle that down to my kids as well. I'm like, hey guys, y'all been on a tablet for, X amount of minutes.
Right.
Let's go get a book or let's go outside and play and, all the different things. So again, just being mindful and when that stuff does pop up, kind of realizing it.
You mentioned time limits. Do you know that we have gone over our 30 minutes? This has been fast.
Very
well,
fast.
yeah, I think we've had some great, discussion here and some practical advice. And I am the least expert in the room here, so but
don't sell yourself short.
I certainly appreciate.
Short.
Educationally, like you guys are LPCs. So that's not my thing. I'm just a parent and a teacher. But Not that that's, super low, but
It's not a lot.
I'm not,
No.
you know what I mean?
Like,
I'm
well,
not, I don't, you guys could talk
Well,
lots of words that I probably don't know, but it's practical advice I think that people need. And just an idea, something to try. Like I always go back to the atomic habits. You want to be 1% better. So I just need something to try to make me maybe 1% better today than I was yesterday.
well, and that's why I want to carry this conversation over. This has been really good. And there's a few more things I want to get to. Cameron, can we twist your arm to come back and do another episode with us?
Well, if you're twisting my arm, absolutely.
I got
Just
a
not my
candy
left
bar
arm.
in here somewhere. I can throw you that too.
Snickers will work.
Well, let's do that. But these
All
people
right.
are wrapping up their drive probably. So
All right. Well, then we'll try that. We'll carry this on next time. So until then, I'm Rod.
And I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.